Today, I'm doing something a little different. I'm showing you what a typical day looks like for me as an online business owner, a web design mentor living in Switzerland. It's also been almost exactly 1 year since I moved to Switzerland, so I'm also going to be sharing some cultural differences that I have noticed living here. For context, I'm from South Korea. I grew up in Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka is still the only country where I have lived for more than 10 years. As an adult, I've lived and worked in Singapore, Sweden, Hong Kong, Indonesia, and most recently, South Korea. All right, let's go. My alarm usually goes off at 7:30 a.m. First thing, cuddles with my dog, Mari. Honestly, this is my dream life. I always wanted to work for myself and stay home with a dog, and here we are. 7:45, here's me getting ready in the bathroom. My husband Sean has a traditional 9 to 5 job, although it's more like 8 to 6 or 7:30 to 6 depending on the day. So he's usually gone early. Most mornings I catch him just as he's leaving the house. Based on what we've seen, it does look like more people at traditional office jobs in Switzerland. Oop, that's a dog hair I just picked off my face. It looks like people here tend to start the workday earlier compared to, say, Hong Kong or Singapore or South Korea. In Indonesia, it wasn't uncommon to see people come into the office super early to avoid the rush hour traffic. Thankfully, that is not an issue here. By 8 o'clock, I'm downstairs, and while I make my coffee, I'm gonna quickly remind you that I help web designers build profitable and inclusive businesses without overworking. And you can get started with my programs for free. Just head over to danbeeshin.com/training. It's so important to me that I start my mornings slow because for most of my life, mornings were always go, go, go. When my sister and I were little, we had a long drive to school because we lived further away than most of our friends, and we had to leave the house at something like 6:30 in the morning, and I remember having to be super efficient getting ready. This is what I have for breakfast most days: overnight oats and berries. Today I have some banana as well with dried coconut slices and some nuts. Mari also gets her breakfast. I won't lie, this is being shown out of order. Mari definitely got her breakfast before I got mine. Like I was saying, I feel like mornings have always been super stressful. When I started working, it felt like more of the same. I just never felt like I had enough time in the morning. And now that I work for myself, I try to give myself a slow start every day. My doctors have told me that my nervous system is way out of balance, and that's something I'm working on improving. So this is one of the ways I'm trying to do that. Mari and I cuddle while I have my breakfast, and these days I'm rewatching Mad Men. It's 8:45 and Mari and I are getting ready to head out for a walk. The name Mari comes from an old Korean word and it means head or mountaintop. She's such a good girl. Strictly speaking, it's Mari. It's a great name for a leader, someone who is the best. It's the name she had at the shelter where we got her, and we loved it so much we decided to keep it. This is literally just up the hill behind our house. We are so lucky. I can't even. I remember the first time I brought Mari up here, I was like, where are we? What is this place? It is so beautiful. Sometimes there are cows here as well, depending on the season. This is all farmland, and the farmers here are very generous about sharing all this space with the public. The air is so clean. Honestly, this isn't something I thought about in my 20s, but after living in big, crowded cities with air pollution, clean air is such a big deal. It's also amazing how quiet it is. All I hear are birds and cowbells. If you've lived in a city, you know that there's always this low level hum of buildings and traffic and people. I have never lived in the countryside before, and honestly, I am embracing my country living era. This place is heaven for Mari, which makes it heaven for me. She gets to run around off leash all the time, which is such a welcome change from city life. We lived in a beautiful neighborhood in Seoul, South Korea, but it was right in the center of the city, and there was more concrete than grass and almost no off leash areas. One thing I love about living here is how normal it is to have a dog, especially a dog Mari's size. Mari's half border collie and half golden retriever, and in Korea, she's officially considered a large dog, and it's really hard to find cafes or hotels that allow large dogs. But here, it's completely normal to bring your dog of any size everywhere, including buses, trains, boats even, and restaurants. Oh, and here's some cows we passed today. This is Switzerland. By 10 o'clock, I am in my home office. This is probably the most productive time of my day. Right now, I'm getting ready to record a new YouTube video, and yes, I am doing stretches before recording. This is real behind the scenes action. I'm leaning hard into YouTube this year. I'm trying to reach more people who don't know me yet, build a stronger connection with people who do know about me, and share what I've learned about growing a web design business. YouTube is also my main strategy for selling my online course, the Fast Track System. This course teaches web designers how to deliver amazing client website projects using a system that boosts long-term business growth. I know a lot of people recommend batch creating content, but I have found that recording 1 or 2 videos at a time just works best for me. Doing more than that at a time feels exhausting, and I find it hard to stay focused and energized. Today, I'm happy with just getting one really good video done. As soon as I opened the door to my office and tidied up, Mari wanted to come and play, so here we are, getting some cuddles. We're playing tug, practicing high fives, doing a bit of training with holding and dropping on command. Then at 11:15, I start my second block of focused work. It's the beginning of October, so I'm taking some time to review how things went in September and also reflect on Q3 overall, so July, August, and September. I start with a brain dump, which is why it looks like I'm just typing away here. This helps me clear my mind and get all my thoughts out. Then I look at things like how much money did I make? What were my top 3 best-selling offers? How much money did I spend? What were my 3 largest expenses? I also review my numbers for email subscribers, Instagram followers, and YouTube subscribers. These are the main ways I sell in my business right now. Then I make 2 lists, one for important things that happened in my business, like running my annual birthday sale, and another for important things that happened in my personal life, like meeting up with my sister for a fun long weekend in London. And finally, I look at what I want to continue doing for the next month or 3 months because it's working, and what I want to stop doing because it's not working so well, and something new that I want to start doing. I try to keep this process as simple as possible because I know that if it feels like too much work, I will end up skipping these reviews. It's 12:15 p.m. I am doing a super quick pesto pasta lunch today. This is Sean's mom's homemade pesto, and it is so good. One of the things I miss most about living in Korea is the delivery culture. Especially in Seoul and other big cities, you have endless options. Home delivery has always been part of the culture, even before all the apps. In Korea, Sean and I rarely went to the supermarket since we always had our groceries delivered, and it's not just food. I even had official government documents notarized and delivered to our apartment when I was preparing my Swiss visa application. I'm super curious. Are you team cook your own meals or team delivery? Tell me in the comments. I can't be the only person who prefers their food delivered. Today, I'm back at my desk for a 1:30 call. I usually take a longer lunch break, say until around 2 p.m., but this was really important. It was a market research call for a project that I'm not ready to talk about yet, but hopefully I'll be able to share more soon. Since all my work is online and I very rarely have local clients, very little changed in how I work and run my business when I moved to Switzerland. The exception has been how I schedule calls, because the Central European time zone is kind of great. Time zone privilege, definitely a thing. The English-speaking online business space is heavily US and UK centric, and one of the biggest challenges when I was running my business from Singapore and South Korea was finding good times for calls with international colleagues and clients. Now that I'm in Europe, I don't have to schedule calls super early or late at night. This is something that I am always happy to do because I love working with people from all around the world, but it is nice to be able to fit all my calls into my normal workday. I can do morning calls with folks in Asia and afternoon calls with those in the Americas, and many of the people I work with are in Europe, so it all works out perfectly. Mari wanted to come in from the balcony where she was chilling and then wanted some attention, so that is what's happening here. I also take her out for a quick bathroom break and then get dressed to head out to my German class. It's 2:45 p.m. In most other places I've lived, I would probably just call an Uber, but like many other conveniences and services, rideshares are significantly more expensive in Switzerland than other places I've been, and it just doesn't make sense economically, especially when public transport is so reliable. So I am riding my bike down to the train station. Here we are at the train station. This cargo train is not usually here, but I'm glad it is today because it gives me a chance to talk about social rules in Switzerland. Surprisingly, graffiti, often really ugly graffiti, is tolerated all over Switzerland. This one on the train isn't even that bad compared to some of the truly terrible spray painted tags that I've seen in public spaces. It's strange considering how particular the Swiss are about what their neighborhoods look like. For example, if you're building a house or modifying the exterior of your house, your neighbors can raise formal objections if they feel the design doesn't fit the neighborhood's aesthetic. These objections can directly impact whether your building permit is approved. I mean, your neighbors can even influence whether your citizenship application is approved, but that is a whole nother topic for another day. It can be easy to think of the Swiss as a highly individualistic society, but there are definitely social rules, written and unwritten, that keep people in check. Anyway, we're just pulling into Luzern Bahnhof. Bahnhof is German for train station. Luzern, or Lucerne in English, is a German speaking canton, as you might have guessed. A canton is kind of like a state in the US. Some cantons are multilingual, but generally German is spoken in the central and eastern cantons and French in the west. Italian is spoken in Canton Ticino, which borders Italy. Romansh is spoken in Canton Graubünden in southeastern Switzerland. Here's some beautiful shots of Lucerne for you to enjoy. So German, French, Italian, and Romansh are the four official languages in Switzerland. As a Korean, the Korean language is so central to our national identity. I find countries with multiple official languages very interesting. Singapore, where I've spent a lot of time, also has four official languages: English, Malay, Mandarin, and Tamil. But virtually everyone speaks English as the common language. But here in Switzerland, there's no single common language. It can actually be quite challenging for French speakers to live in the German-speaking regions if they don't speak German, and vice versa, even though they are in their own country. This is exactly Sean's grandparents' experience. They were from the French-speaking canton of Vaud and faced difficulties when they lived here in Luzern. From what I've picked up so far, if your mother tongue is Italian or Romansh as a Swiss person, you're likely to also speak at least some German. Lucerne is so beautiful. Ever since I first visited in 2014, I've returned every year, except during the COVID lockdowns. It's always been my favorite city in Switzerland, and sometimes I still can't believe that I get to live here now. Now, I have to clarify that the German I am learning is Hochdeutsch, or Standard High German. The Swiss speak Swiss German, which is very different. My priority is to get my Hochdeutsch to a decent conversational level so that I have that German foundation, and then focus on learning the Swiss dialect. Let's see how it goes. It's been a really long time since I've put in this much effort into learning a language and have had to start from zero. It's 5 p.m. After my German class, I make a quick stop at the post office to send off some postcards, then head home. The first thing I do when I get home is let Mari out for a quick bathroom break. It is so much easier now that we live in a house compared to the first year and a half of Mari's life when we lived on the 27th floor of a high-rise apartment. 5:30 p.m. This is my third and final focused work block of the day. 6:15 p.m. is usually when I start prepping dinner. Some days Sean makes dinner, some days I do. There are no rules. It just depends on who has more capacity. Tonight, I'm making a pumpkin curry from this cookbook called Rambutan, Like the Fruit, by Cynthia Shanmugalingam. She's a British Sri Lankan Tamil chef and the founder of a Sri Lankan restaurant in London, also called Rambutan. My sister and I went a few weeks ago and it was amazing. Her family is from Jaffna in northern Sri Lanka, and she showcases Tamil food and culture through her work. Tamils in Sri Lanka have faced persecution from the Sinhalese majority since the country gained independence from British rule in 1948. Another tragic and infuriating example of the devastation colonizers leave behind. Even though I grew up in Sri Lanka and learned about the systematic oppression and human rights violations against Tamils, I spent most of my time in my international school bubble. My understanding of Sri Lankan Tamil history and culture was very limited. This is something I've been actively working on to change in my adulthood. Traditionally, and according to the rambutan recipe, I should have used pumpkin slices, but I used these pre-prepped cubes. This is just what I have right now. Sadly, this does not look like the picture in the cookbook, but it was still really good. It tasted almost like home. By the time I've got all this ready, it's 7:15 p.m. Sean is home from work. We often watch TV with dinner. Tonight we're watching the new episode of Slow Horses. At 8 p.m., Sean takes Mari for her evening walk and I get some time to myself. It's so sweet. He gave me these videos from their walk so I could include them here. While they're out, I do some fun planning for our upcoming trip to Iceland. At 9 p.m., I start winding down. I give Mari a little cuddle, tidy up around the house, reset my office. I find it difficult to go to bed on time. This is a forever struggle because there's just so much more I want to do, but I also love sleep and I try to remind myself of that. This is what I find when I finally get to bed at 10:15 p.m. I used to stress about going to bed and getting up exactly when Sean does, and that worked for a while when we both had 9 to 5 jobs, but he tends to run on an earlier schedule, and something I've learned over the last few years is to find my own rhythm. I like to journal before bed with real pen and paper. Externalizing my thoughts this way helps me feel calmer and less anxious. I have two notebooks because sometimes I write freestyle and sometimes I use the prompts in this journal by my friend Ruth Ridgway. But first, it looks like I'm gonna have to fight for my spot in the bed. I will wrap up this video here. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up and check out this video next. Good night.